what's up? It's your girl Chrissy, also known as Unpopular Locks, and this is another freaking lock video. I came up with a list of things that you should actually do before you start your lock journey. I think these things are very important to having a happy and healthy lock journey relationship with your locks. So I will be referencing, I had literally developed a whole entire list. So I'm gonna refer to my list. So if you see me, you know what I mean, that's what homegirl is doing. So what made me come up with this list is because you know, a few people several times came to me, you know, like, oh my god, you know, I'm thinking about starting my locks, and immediately, you know, I give them some tips, you know, that they should know before going into the lock game. You feel me? So I decided to come up with a video because we do have a lot of videos where, you know, things that I wish I known, but there are actual things that you should do prior to becoming locked. And these are the things that I have done and additional things that I've learned along the way. I maintain my locks. For those of you who don't know, I maintain my locks. I'm going on 3 years next month, September 16th. I didn't start my locks, but I've been the one maintaining it from month 1. Okay, I did, however, start 3 lock heads, 2 which happen to be my children and my little brother who's like 22 years old. I started his lock journey with comb coils, and he's going on a year in October. I've been maintaining his locks since month 1. I started my daughter's locks with a 2-strand twist, and she's been locked 2 years since July 2nd, so she's just over 2 years locked. Beautiful, beautiful. And I started my youngest daughter's locks with braid locks recently, about 3 or so months ago. Okay, during the whole pandemic, I began her lock journey. So yeah, I kind of know a thing or two about this whole lock game in many different forms. I retwist my locks, I palm rolled, you know, I interlock my youngest daughter's locks. So there's like, you can gain a thing or two from me, okay, in this conversation. Let's just get into it because I'm not trying to have you guys here long and lead you astray from the conversation. So, okay, number 1, my goal is to explain to you why it is important to do research. Why is research so important? Because you need to know what you're getting yourself into with this lock life. You know, there are people that I know that I've inspired to begin their lock journey without giving them the heads up. And before you know it, within a month or 2, they're no longer locked, or they're just not ready yet, you know? And that's fine, because when you decide that you want to start your lock journey, in that moment you may think you're ready, but there's a whole process that you have to trust, okay? So therefore, I want to start off with, you know, the method, you know what I mean? So the first question you should have answered when you begin your lock journey is, how am I going to start my locks? What method is it that you would like to use to start your locks? We have different methods to begin your lock journey. One of which is the coil method. You can do them with a comb, or you can do them with your fingers. My coil method that was used was with a comb, so those are comb coils. Typically, it's the more traditional way to start them. And I don't have anything negative against them, you know what I mean? But for someone that starts with longer hair, I probably would advise against that, the coils, because it was low-key a pain in my you-know-what, simply because, like, the 2 locks in the front, the texture of my hair was much different, so it took a really, really long time for those coils to lock, okay? And when I say, like, the budding just started like a year or 2 ago, and I've been locked for 3 years, so that's just one thing to keep in mind. There's also the braid lock method. As I mentioned before, I started my youngest daughters with braid locks, and the reason why I decided to do hers with braid locks, obviously, like, she's 2 years old, and you know, I wanted something that was going to stay and stick to her, and something that, you know, I can maintain, being that she's very rough, a baby, and don't really know what she's doing around here, okay? Another method you can go about is the twist method. Now there are two different types of twist method that you can use. So one is obvious, the double strand twist method, okay? That's literally just taking, you know, pieces of your hair and twisting it up, okay? So that's one method. You can two strand twist it up and leave it like that. Another twist method would be the twist out. I have come across a couple of people's loc journeys, to my surprise, where they twisted their hair and then after a few days unravel it, and that's how their locks formed, and you can never even tell. You feel me? So I thought that was amazing. I wasn't aware of that method when I first started, but that is one way you can go about it. Obviously, for those of you who you know, just want to skip all the trust the process and all of that, you can start your locks with the instant lock method. You can use the hair that you have on your head, or, you know, some people get extensions, lock extensions crocheted into their hair, but typically that method is used with the crochet needle to instantly form that lock and attach the lock extension. Personally, for me, you know, what you want to know is not everybody's going to agree with that method. Personally, I don't, but that's not my journey. That's not my business. You know what I mean? Everybody have their reasons, and I'm okay with that. It is a journey. It's just, it speeds up a lot of the process. And for me, like, there's a lot of things that you discover going through that process, and you really do miss out on certain things about your journey that it will teach you. You know what I mean? Like for me, I heard people say, oh, I didn't know who I was until I locked, and I'm like, well, I always knew who I was, okay, honey? But one thing I did realize is that it helped me like get rid of a lot of the superficial ways that I once had. You know, I used to always be in weaves, stay with a sew-in and this, that, and the third. So like it helped me get away from that and not be so superficial, you know what I mean, when it comes to, you know, me and as a whole. Like I can still be a baddie without having, and personally for me, you know, a lot of people refer to like the first year of their loc journey as the ugly phase. And if that's not a phase that you are willing to go through, then the instant lock method may be for you. Otherwise, this whole thing may not be for you. You feel me? But personally for me, there was not one day that I woke up and said, I don't like my hair today. I never had an ugly phase ever. Like my locks were always A1, thriving, flourishing from day one. So that's just me, but everybody had their own comfortability, and some people it takes a little bit longer than others to get confident on certain levels, but that wasn't an area I struggled with. Moving on, I want to get down to the foundation and the parting system. That is definitely something that you need to do your research on and consider what parting system you want. And when I say parting system, it's like, what are you going to use? What's the foundation of your locks? So we know that, hey, for instance, I started with comb coils. Now that I knew that I wanted comb coils, I was like, okay, I was going through the different parting systems. So I started my parting system with the brick or square parting, and that's simply because I'm a pretty precise woman. Okay, I'm pretty precise at times, so therefore for me, like, it's just necessary to have things symmetrical, because I know one day I'm going to want to put my hair in pigtails, and I want that to be, you know, a clean part. Maybe I want 4 buns, you know what I mean, and I still gonna want that precise symmetrical line. So for me, the brick square pattern works for me, always works for me. I thought ahead. That's something that you really need to do and decide what you want to do when it comes to your foundation. The other foundation or parting systems that you know, you can start your locks with is the C part. So it's kind of like, you know what I mean, and it's a really cute part. Still got some type of formation to it, but it's not straight. So literally C parts. I'll see if I can try and insert some pictures or something of the sort. If not, don't shoot me, just Google it. We also have the diamond part, which is also very, very, very cute. You know, if you were going for that, you know, a bit more fancier pattern, the diamond parts are like a way to go. And also there's the freehand or freestyle parting. So basically, most of the time, the people that I see with those type of parting are the ones that began their loc journey themselves, probably because they weren't able to see, so it's just like, oh, I'm gonna just do anything, you know. And that's cool and all, but you know, I did notice that a lot of people that got the little freehand parting kind of somewhat end up regretting it later as their locks begin to form. So whatever the parting system is that you decide, I suggest you fully researching and get to know the foundations, the different type of parting systems, the different type of lock methods to begin your locks with that works great for you and your texture. So moving on, I wanted to point out that parting size is something else that you would have to figure out after you decide how you want to start your locks, what parting system or foundation you will be using. Now you got to think of the parting size. Now, a few things that you need to keep in mind. Personally for me, when I started my locks, I told the person that started my locks, the young lady, I said, listen, I want my locks like Dutch's. Okay, so you can use pictures as references, you know, make an archive, a folder of pictures of locks that you admire, that you wouldn't mind having, you know, some similarities to. Now I say that, but I say that with caution. You need to understand that even though I said I want my locks to look like Dutch's, my locks will never look like Dutch's, because these ain't Dutch's locks. These are unpopular locks. These are Chrissy's locks, okay? So it's never going to look like Dutch's. But as far as the size is concerned, my Loctician Chanel did, okay? So one thing you need to understand is the PTL, which is the part to lock ratio, okay? So basically what that means, the bigger the part, the bigger the lock will be. So my daughter, she has 26 locks, right? And her parts are huge. So when she first started her journey, as anybody, including myself, the lock itself, or the starter lock, the baby lock itself, was kind of relatively really small. Over the course of time, as it begins to lock and form its place, it will swell up to about the size of your part. So that's one thing that you really have to keep in mind. So, you know, if you want bigger, thicker locks, you need to do a bigger, thicker part. Bottom line, keep in mind is that you do not control the lock count. You can't say, oh, I want 200 locks. Oh, I want 300 locks. Crazy. Especially if you're maintaining them yourself. But whatever. You can't say, oh, I want 26 locks. Like, what determines how many locks you're going to have? Your lock count is the size of your head, the density of your hair, okay, your parting system that you decide to choose, as well as your the method. Okay, so all of that in conjunction combined is going to determine how many locks you will end up with. Keep that in mind. One thing I say is, you know, the bigger the lock, the smaller the count. Okay, so yeah, if you want, you know, a minimum of a certain amount of locks, then you might want to have thicker locks. If you know you want like over 150 locks. Now me, right now I have about 108 locks. I started with 120 and then I combined some and then ended up with 112, and now I have 108. And that's another thing you want to keep in mind. Sometimes the count that you start with is not the count that you end up with, okay? You need to know how big or small you're going to want them. Learning how to take care of your hair naturally. You know what I mean? So like basically what I mean by that is since I started my loc journey, I have been using all types of natural hair oils from, you know, black owned businesses or companies that create solely based all natural hair care products. Some people that I found within the loc community even have their own line. It's really important to, you know, start to form that relationship of getting used to maintaining your hair naturally and introducing natural oils. You know, some people used to use mousse, grease, all types. Sorry if y'all hear the background. My daughter is singing to Elsa. What I would suggest is getting to know different companies that specifically is designed towards black hair, if you're black, or natural hair in general. That's the thing that really feeds our hair, that gives it the health and the abundance when it comes to growth and nourishment. You feel me? So just look into, like, get to know, like, you know, the different carrier oils and essential oils and the benefits that they all offer, and think about what you want your hair to do when you loc. Okay, start experimenting early before you start your loc journey. As you're still in the process of doing your research, order a couple of bottles online, order you know, from a company, do some research and get to know the different essential oils, carrier oils, even herbs. There are herbs that we infuse, and I definitely have done my share of it on this channel, okay? But there's even herbs that we infuse in our rose water, or you know, our oils, different things of that nature. Get to know the natural way to take care of your hair, because one thing about locs is buildup is a nightmare. Okay, fortunately for me, that's not anything I've experienced, and I pray to God I don't. But with that being said, what you put into your locs, it has to be something loc friendly, and you want to make sure that you are using the natural and best ingredients for your locs. Okay, and with that being said, I want to go into shampoo and conditioner. You know, sometimes people really don't understand, like, people have their opinions on shampoos and conditioners. I know a lot of people that don't like using conditioner. I have been using conditioner from the beginning of my loc journey, just because that's how my hair flourished. Like, that's what I was always used to. I haven't been using it within the last like 2-3 months because I ran out and I just never ordered it again. But you want to consider, what are you going to do in place of conditioner if you plan on not using conditioner because you're afraid of buildup or whatever the case may be. So I want to throw out some ideas. You can obviously use cream conditioners. You just got to make sure you're selective about the conditioner you use. Always pay attention to, when it comes to products, period, do your due diligence, do your research, make sure you have everything that you would need to take care of your hair if you are taking care of it yourself and maintaining it yourself. Make sure you read the back of the bottles. If you can't understand the first 3 to 5 ingredients on the label, pass, okay? But you can also invest in leave-in conditioners. For me, leave-in conditioners is not it. That's not anything that works for my hair ever. I need something more creamy, so that's what I stick to. You can use oils in place of that. And recently in my last video I posted showing you how I moisturize my locs with oils. So I have a ton of oils. I use rose water infused with rosemary, and I use different types of carrier oils and essential oils just to, you know, bring the moisture back into my locs, because I also detox with the detoxifying shampoo, which is definitely something you want to look into, because of locs, things could get easily trapped in our locs. Okay, so using a good detoxifying shampoo on a regular will kill that. It's definitely going to kill that whole product buildup crap. Okay, is to it. And I personally use the apple cider vinegar shampoo. So yeah, moving on, you can also dilute conditioner. I see a lot of people, well, they'll put a little conditioner in a bottle, probably about 10%, and fill it up 90% with water, or however they choose, rose water, whatever, distilled water, I don't know, you know, and they just shake it, and that's their way of creating their own leave-in conditioner. Okay, and they may add their oils or whatever the case may be. These are things that you should be thinking about and preparing for before you begin your loc journey, because like I said, this whole thing is not like another hairstyle. It's literally a loc life. This is a loc lifestyle. This is a commitment that you are making, and it starts before the moment you decide that you want to loc. you want to lock up, the moment you decide you want to begin your lock journey, that's the moment this process starts. Okay, so it's different from the start of your lock versary or your lock day. Your actual journey begins the moment you say to yourself in your head, I want to start this lock journey. And that's where the research is coming from. Another thing you want to keep in mind when it comes to your hair in the future is, how do you plan on maintaining your hair? So we have different type of methods. We have the retwisting method, where you can palm roll, and that's palm rolling all the way down the length of your locks, or you can just twist at the roots. Recently, I just switched from palm rolling to just twisting the roots, because I've been palm rolling for a good 2 years. If not more, since I started this lock journey. And personally for me, I started palm rolling probably around like 6 months locked or so, something like that, maybe a little less. I started palm rolling because my locks were very frizzy, and I knew that I wanted a little bit more uniform look. And according to my research, palm rolling is the way to go. But after palm rolling for some time and just being used to it, it also speeds up your retwisting process. So that was another reason why I stuck to it. But I realized that, now being that I'm almost 3 years locked, some of my locks got a lot thinner than it was, or how it started, and I owe that to palm rolling. So you might want to be careful about that. If that's something that you do plan on doing, it just switch it up from time to time. You feel me? Just switch it up from time to time, and you be good. So do palm rolling here, and then do twisting from the roots there. That's what I wish I'd done. But these are things to consider before you begin your lock journey. Okay, another method in maintaining your hair is interlocking. They also refer to it as, instead of retwist, they refer to it as retightening. And that's something I recently just got my hands on because of my youngest daughter. She does have braid locks, and instead of retwisting her locks, because sometimes it's not enough new growth because of the braid, I interlock, and it holds perfectly. So that's something that you may want to consider. I don't really have more information in regards to that, but consider your research. Consider how you would like to, maintain your locks in the future, because this is stuff that you really have to keep in mind before you make that move. Okay. Another reason why interlocking is good is for like the softer textures that unravel. That was something that I considered earlier in my lock journey, because my hair is very fine in the beginning. So I was really like, I'm going to interlock it, but you know what? I stuck it out, and I stuck to the traditional way that I've been, retwisting my locks. Another thing that you want to consider and do your research on is semi-free-forming. Okay, so semi-free-forming or free-forming in general, I guess you can say I semi-reform is not something that I had ever planned to do. It's just something that kind of came about because as your locks grow, you get to, get more lax with, your locks in general, the care for your locks in general. So, the first year is like, every month on the month. The longest I went was like 6 to 8 weeks, like one time within that first year. But literally, as each year goes, like, you really don't be beat to be on top of a retwist. Like, it's not even on your agenda. So most people kind of gradually transition from getting their locks retwisted every single month, okay, to semi-reforming, except for those people that really loves a clean and neat retwist all the time. I am not that person. I love a clean and neat retwist when I retwist, but I also like to watch my hair go from this to the unruly roots, as I mentioned, okay, a few times in my videos. So yeah, that's definitely something you want to keep in mind. What is free-forming? What is semi-free-forming? Is that something you would ever consider for your lock journey? Okay, like these are things that you want to map out before you take on that journey. Last but not least, the number one thing to do when it comes to your research is follow some lock inspirations, get involved in the lock community before you actually become lock. Be inspired. Watch videos on YouTube that cater to the idea of, you know, the parting system that you think you want, or somebody's lock journey whose hair texture is similar to yours, or whose hair texture or hair length is around your length, and how they started. I would suggest, you know, watching someone within that's within their first year locked. I know for me, before I started my journey, I followed a few people that probably were about 6 to 9 months you know, ahead of me in the game, but still within their first year being locked. I follow people whose hair texture looked just like mine, whose starter locks look just like mine, you know, just because I kind of wanted to gear you know, what I kind of wanted to reference, like where I could possibly be going with my lock journey, and how possibly my locks could develop in that way. I wasn't in no way comparing because I wanted my locks to develop that way. It's just based off of my hair texture, my length, you know. That's why I follow certain people. You want to look at them, get in a habit of looking into you know, different parting systems on YouTube, Google, different methods, semi-freeforming, freeforming. You know, just get fully invested. Watch different videos in regards to how to create your own hair oil. You don't need to follow somebody with locks to do that. You know what I mean? You can. I got a few of them on my channel, I'm just letting y'all know. But anyways, you know what I mean? Just get in touch with the things that caters to starting your locks and maintaining healthy locks, okay? And how to take care of them in general. So that's pretty much it. That's all I really wanted to say. If I left anything out, y'all know I'll be back with a part 2, right? I don't think I did though. Anyways, thank you so much for tuning in yet again, and I hope this was somewhat informative for you. For those of you who are considering starting your lock journey or new to starting your lock journey, this is definitely a video for you. Even if you have already started, still get involved and do your research. I still do my research till this day because there's still new things that I'm learning, you know, just like how I learned how to interlock recently, almost 3 years locked, okay? So like, still always continue to feed yourself, okay? Because one thing you need to keep in mind is what works for me may not work for you. So you have to do the research yourself, and, you know, be smart enough to decipher and use discernment on what you feel would work for you, okay? And the only way you're ever going to know that is if you do the research yourself. Thank you once again for watching. It's your girl Chrissy. I'm tapping out with the fab sign. Peace and love, love and harmony, and be blessed. Yes. Mwah.